Welcome to The Bottom Line, where we unpack some of the main business and economic stories of the day. I am your host, Aleksandra Marchewicz. Now, many in Central and Eastern Europe remember how natural gas has been weaponized by Russia. No more transit of the fuel through the region has finally stopped. And Poland has been prepared, but some cannot be said about every country in the CEE. Meanwhile, fresh PMI figures raise both concerns and hints of recovery for the country's manufacturing sector. And now to help us unpack these developments, I am joined by Paweł Wojciechowski, former Polish finance minister. Hello, sir, and welcome to TVP World.
Hello, nice to be here again.
So, no Russian gas via Ukraine. It's a historic development, isn't it?
Well, it's a historic development because the first time is the Ukraine decided to stop the gas transit. It used to be the opposite. I remember it was a deputy foreign minister. It was just the opposite in 2009 when Russia, because it was in dispute with Ukraine, stopped the gas transit to Europe. And I was part of the negotiating team to bring the new agreement with Russia, a long-term agreement with Gazprom export. And in fact, we closed the deal, but we decided to think about, in the time, about energy security, how to be less dependent on Russian gas. And it was the first trip of former Prime Minister Donald Tusk to Qatar to bring the LNG gas, liquefied gas, to Poland, and the installation that was built in the northern Poland. So, in fact, there was all thinking about energy security, how to become less dependent from Russian gas. You remember that, in the past, Europe was over-dependent on Russian gas. Almost 40% was imported from Russia, and now it's barely 5%.
Exactly, and it seems that we came a long way, especially Poland, since obviously, like you mentioned, we once heavily depended on Russian gas, but now we buy exactly zero of it. So that was possible only thanks to long-term energy policy that you mentioned, something that is not common in Poland political landscape, really.
Oh, it was quite advisable to do it in other countries as well. So that was this kind of energy union that was also proposed by former Prime Minister Donald Tusk in the European Union to provide some kind of interconnectors, in the gas system in Europe to help each other. Okay, and that was actually what's happening now. Ukraine was preparing the European Union for this to stop, to halt the gas import through Ukraine of the Russian gas. And many countries developed those capacity to bring gas to those countries who are affected, like Slovakia, Hungary, to a lesser extent Moldova, although Romania is saying they will help Moldova now. So many countries already have either liquefied natural gas or different interconnections, routes to bring the gas to their home countries. So, in fact, it's actually much more secure and much less dependent on the Russian gas as well.
Now, I wonder, because you mentioned Moldova, you mentioned Slovakia and Hungary, those who are in need now of other sources of gas. Do you think that Poland has the capacity to help its neighbours looking for gas supplies like Slovakia, thanks to interconnectors, like you mentioned?
Yeah, so that's definitely that could be the case. Although you have to say the gas is a little bit, more expensive then, because even bringing the LNG gas from Qatar, United States, it's a little bit more costly. Gasification facilities are working, but still it's okay. You can buy it on the spot market almost, because in the past it was no spot market for gas. Now there's a spot market, you buy the prices and the market prices. But of course, those countries can count on supplies which accumulated, especially that, talking about 95% of the gas storage is filled, with gas. So there is no problem with capacity at the moment.
Right, but we do not see Slovakians asking us for help in that regard. Not much is happening really in this regard.
Well, some countries are, I would say, more pro-Russian, like Slovakia's government and Hungarian government would try to find ways to go around the sanctions. Like, for example, Hungary in the past had a deal on oil to buy oil that would become Hungarian oil, because of course no gas and oil has no nationality. It could be bought before the border and brought to Hungary. The same may happen. The same question, raised to Mr. Fico, who's negotiating something with Russia, probably also negotiating in the sense to showing the European Union, you must provide some type of assistance, some type of solutions for the Slovakian problem. It's not asking for direct help, but of course behind the scenes, definitely this type of discussions are happening, and I'm sure that the Slovakia will have gas supply to their citizens, to homes, and there would be no problem in this respect.
Especially since Slovakia, now is witnessing difficult situations, since they do have an arrangement with Gazprom until 2028, I believe.
Well, you could have an arrangement with the country, but of course you have to take a risk of disruption, such as through the countries which are transit countries. And of course Ukraine was fair to all other countries, had a 5-year deal with Russia, said it will end until the end of 2024, and it happened. So every country in the European Union had a time to prepare themselves to this disruption.
Right, so now switching gears ever so slightly, I'd love to get your expertise on recent PMI data. As we know that recent data shows Poland's PMI at 48.2, indicating another contraction. So can we expect a manufacturing revival in 2025?
We generally can expect that Poland will do well in next year, because even the budget law, there's the forecast today by Minister of Finance is 3.9% growth. We will be the leader of growth in the European among the large countries. Smaller countries like Malta would be higher, have a higher growth rate. But in general, Poland's economy is well diversified with still very heavy manufacturing. Strong manufacturing base. It all depends also a little bit on what's happening in Germany, and Germany would be the last in this ranking of the forecast of GDP growth, unfortunately. And of course, our export is dependent on Germany. Germany is losing markets. There's layoffs of companies like Volkswagen. There's problems with exporting cars to China, and so on and so forth. So Poland manufacturing is in a good shape, but because of diversification that was worked out in many years. So maybe this lack of industrial policies in the past was a blessing for Poland now, because if you have a strong dependency on automotive industry, such as Slovakia and Hungary, would be in much worse shape, today than we can see now the prospects for development still in other industries, and Poland is strong in many fields. For example, the car industry as well. Talking about #1 producer in Europe of electric buses. Nobody knows about it, or maybe so in heavy trucks. And so in trains. On manufacturing. So. In a lot of areas, we very, very strong. So.
Exactly. Like, for instance, with electric buses that are supposed to be sold now in the United States, Solaris has now made another deal with the United States as such. Now, I wonder, because you mentioned Germany, and we do know that we are intertwined economy-wise with Germany. And let's jump into investments then. A torrent of EU investment money heading towards Poland in 2025. So. Can it give a jolt to manufacturing, or is it external environment like Germany exactly much more important?
I think that Poland is open to all kind of investments and treats them quite well. Of course, except those who are not friendly countries like Russia. Maybe, of course, Belarus, they have money, but also, those countries which are, rogue states, we don't want to bring those investments. But in the world is happening this kind of concept of having more consolidated arrangements on investments among the countries which are like-minded countries, liberal democracies. And Poland is one of them. And of course, we want to bring investments on the kind of base of friend-shoring or near-shoring. Those investments who would otherwise go to rogue states, would come to Poland because we are democracy. So I think democracy has a value in bringing investments today. And of course, we lack a little bit of stability in terms of the war in Ukraine. But there's maybe some hopes now for the solution now in next year. We'll see what President Trump will propose. Because he's supposed to be ending the wars in 24 hours. We'll see how it goes. But if that goes away, Poland would be a mecca, I would say, the mecca for the new investments. Would suddenly become a beautiful country for new investors and new investments. Especially that would be a lot of initiatives to rebuild Ukraine. A lot of investments are built in the Polish budget. For example, the nuclear power plant, the big hub, central hub called CPK.
Exactly.
So it's all investments will be flourishing in Poland.
And I'm really glad that you mentioned that Poland will be mecca for investors. I feel like that will be a great wish. I feel like for Poland for 2025.
I think that would be the major engine that we would rebuild, also on the basis of bring back the rule of law to Poland and using all the European investment funds available,
exactly.
all the tools which are available.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Now, that was Paweł Wojciechowski, Polish former finance minister, and that was his bottom line for today. And remember that in the world of business, the bottom line is the only line that counts. Aleksandra Marchewicz signing off. Goodbye.